Hi viewers, welcome to Deep Dive America. Today we bring you a question that's haunted political debates for decades. Who really controls America? Officially, power belongs to the people, the elected leaders, and the Constitution. But behind the scenes, a web of unelected power brokers, intelligence agencies, corporate giants, and secretive institutions appear to pull the strings. Some call it the deep state, a shadow network operating beyond democracy's reach. Former presidents have hinted at it. Whistleblowers have risked everything to expose it. Yet proof remains buried under layers of classified documents and silenced testimonies. So who are these hidden players? How do they manipulate policy, media, and even elections? And most chillingly, why do so few dare to name them? In this video, we'll dissect declassified files, insider accounts, and eerie patterns that suggest America's fate isn't decided at the ballot box, but in boardrooms and black budget meetings you'll never see. Stay tuned. The truth is stranger than fiction. The term deep state isn't some fringe conspiracy. It's been referenced by former intelligence officials, senators, and even presidents. It describes entrenched bureaucrats, intelligence officers, and corporate influencers who continue steering national policy regardless of who is elected. Former CIA analysts have admitted that certain agencies have their own agendas, operating with minimal oversight. We can trace the roots of this idea back to President John F. Kennedy, who warned about secret societies and shadowy groups exerting influence beyond public view. And let's not forget President Eisenhower's famous farewell address, where he cautioned Americans about the growing power of the military-industrial complex. These were not conspiracy theorists, but leaders at the highest levels sounding alarms. Today, we see bipartisan policies that never change no matter who's in office, wars that continue, surveillance laws that tighten, corporate bailouts that roll on. The pattern is clear. Elections may change faces, but not the machine behind the scenes. But who exactly holds the keys to this invisible kingdom? The answer lies in the unbreakable alliance between Washington insiders and Wall Street financiers. It's in the revolving door between government agencies and defense contractors. It's in the think tanks and lobbying firms that craft legislation before it even reaches Congress. Consider how many former intelligence officials now sit on corporate boards. Look at how many legislators leave office to become highly paid consultants for the industries they once regulated. Follow the trail of campaign donations from major corporations to both political parties. Examine how media narratives are shaped by a handful of powerful conglomerates with direct ties to the security state. The evidence is overwhelming when you connect the dots. A small group of unelected power brokers have constructed a self-sustaining system that operates above democratic accountability. They don't need secret meetings in dark rooms because the system they've built automatically perpetuates their interests. The real power doesn't reside in the White House or Capitol Hill. It's in the boardrooms of multinational corporations, the secure facilities of intelligence agencies, and the private gatherings of global elites. This isn't speculation. It's the logical conclusion when you examine who actually benefits from endless wars, mass surveillance, and corporate welfare. The deep state isn't a theory. It's the inevitable result of unchecked institutional power, merging with unlimited financial influence. And until this system is exposed and dismantled, no election, no president, no populist movement will ever truly change the direction of the country. The first step is recognizing the problem. Seeing beyond the illusion of political theater to understand where power really resides in modern America. The intelligence community forms the backbone of the deep state. The CIA, NSA, and FBI operate with surveillance powers so vast they monitor both foreign threats and American citizens alike, frequently bypassing proper oversight. Wall Street and major banks represent another pillar of this hidden power structure. The 2008 financial crisis laid bare the unbreakable bonds between big finance and government, when trillions in taxpayer dollars were funneled to failing institutions without public consent. The Federal Reserve compounds this problem by conducting monetary policy behind closed doors, keeping even elected representatives in the dark about critical financial decisions. Corporate influence spreads like a cancer through Washington's corridors of power. Pharmaceutical behemoths, military-industrial complex players, and tech titans including Amazon and Google pour billions into lobbying efforts, often literally drafting the legislation meant to regulate their industries. This systemic corruption is carefully concealed from public view through media manipulation. Historical evidence like Operation Mockingbird, a confirmed CIA program to plant stories in mainstream outlets, proves how intelligence agencies have long shaped narratives by covertly influencing news coverage. When this much power, financial, political, and informational, becomes concentrated among a select few, operating beyond democratic checks and balances, we must confront the disturbing reality. We're no longer dealing with separate institutions, but an interconnected shadow government. The real wonder isn't how they maintain this system, but why more citizens don't recognize its existence when the evidence surrounds us. From warrantless surveillance to corporate-written legislation, from financial secrecy to media manipulation, the patterns form an unmistakable picture of unelected power operating in plain sight, protected by layers of complexity and public distraction. This isn't governance. It's a quiet coup by permanent institutions against the very concept of democratic accountability. And without systemic reform, this machine will continue running regardless of elections, public opinion, or national interest, preserving its power through carefully designed mechanisms of control that most Americans don't even realize exist. The question isn't whether this system operates. The documents, whistleblowers, and historical patterns prove it does. But whether we as citizens will remain passive observers or finally demand transparency and accountability from those who wield power without consent. Silencing dissent stands as one of the deep state's most ruthless and time-tested strategies. When whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange pulled back the curtain on illegal surveillance, war crimes, and government corruption, they didn't just face legal consequences. They were hunted, exiled, imprisoned, and subjected to relentless smear campaigns designed to destroy their credibility. Investigative journalists who dare to expose elite criminal networks meet even darker fates: mysterious deaths, sudden career implosions, or outright disappearances. The case of Jeffrey Epstein alone raises disturbing questions. Why were so many reporters who dug into his connections suddenly sidelined or silenced? Then there's the black budget, a shadowy financial system operating beyond public scrutiny. The Pentagon has openly admitted it cannot account for trillions of dollars. Money that doesn't just vanish, but is funneled into classified operations, covert wars, and undisclosed programs that Congress itself can't audit. This isn't mismanagement, it's deliberate. A system designed to fund operations the public would never approve of with zero oversight. Election interference isn't just about hacking machines or changing votes. It's about rigging the entire system from within. Gerrymandering ensures political outcomes are decided before a single ballot is cast, redrawing districts to guarantee power stays in the hands of the establishment. Voter suppression laws target specific demographics, minorities, the poor, students, effectively silencing voices that threaten the status quo. Even so-called election security measures often contain hidden loopholes, allowing those in power to manipulate the process under the guise of protecting it. This isn't some clumsy conspiracy. It's a well-oiled machine, a network of intelligence agencies, corporate interests, and political operatives working in unison to maintain control. The system is too entrenched, too well-funded, and too ruthless to be challenged by any single whistleblower, journalist, or politician. So the ultimate question remains: if this machinery is so powerful, why hasn't it been stopped? The answer is simple: because those who could dismantle it are either part of it, or they've been neutralized before they could try. The deep state doesn't just punish its enemies, it makes sure no one even gets close enough to challenge it. And until enough people wake up to how the game is rigged, the machine will keep running, silent, unstoppable, and utterly unaccountable. The deep state thrives because it's designed to outlast any administration, any election, any political movement. It doesn't matter which party holds power, the same hawkish foreign policies continue, surveillance programs grow more intrusive, and corporate lobbyists still dictate legislation behind closed doors. This isn't an accident, it's by design. The system serves elites on both sides of the aisle, ensuring that no matter who wins, the machinery of control keeps running. And the glue holding it all together? Fear. The constant invocation of national security justifies everything from warrantless spying on citizens to crushing whistleblowers who expose the truth. It's the ultimate shield, one that lets the government operate in shadows while silencing dissent in the name of protecting the public. But fear alone isn't enough to keep people compliant. Distraction is the other critical tool. The media floods the airwaves with manufactured outrage, left versus right, culture wars, celebrity scandals, anything to keep the public divided, exhausted, and too preoccupied to question why nothing ever truly changes. Meanwhile, those who pierce through the noise and challenge the system face immediate retaliation. They're labeled conspiracy theorists, deplatformed, or professionally blacklisted. The goal isn't just to silence them, it's to make an example of them, to deter others from even trying to expose the rot at the core. Yet beneath this seemingly invincible facade, there's a vulnerability, awareness. Every empire of unchecked power in history has fallen once enough people saw through the illusions. The question isn't whether this system can be broken, it's whether enough citizens will wake up, unite beyond partisan divides, and demand accountability before it's too late. The clock is ticking. The deep state has faced courageous challengers throughout history, proving that even the most entrenched systems can be opposed when brave individuals take action. President Kennedy's attempt to audit the Federal Reserve revealed how financial power operates in shadows, while Congressman Ron Paul's transparency efforts showed that secret budgets and backroom deals can be exposed through relentless pressure. These examples prove that meaningful change is possible when three key elements align: strong laws forcing accountability, independent journalism uncovering hidden truths, and an engaged public holding leaders responsible at every level. While progress is slow and the system fights back fiercely through intimidation, misinformation, and bureaucratic obstruction, history shows that no structure of unaccountable power lasts forever when confronted with sustained resistance. The Soviet Union collapsed, apartheid ended, and colonial empires fell when enough people recognized the lies and organized against them. Your role in this struggle matters more than you may realize. Every video shared, every local meeting attended, every independent news source supported creates another crack in the system's armor. The deep state survives on public distraction and division, so the most revolutionary act is simply paying attention, learning how power really operates, then sharing that knowledge. This is why we ask you to like, subscribe, and spread these messages, because awareness is contagious and collective action is unstoppable. The tools for change already exist in our laws and technology, but they remain useless without an awakened citizenry willing to use them. Past reformers proved the impossible can become inevitable. Now it's our turn to prove them right again. The final question isn't whether the deep state can be defeated, but whether enough people will act before its corruption becomes irreversible. That answer depends entirely on what you do with this information today.